Welcome back to the Sound Q Garage podcast, a spot where we talk all things high-end car audio, precision installs, and the pursuit of perfect sound. Today, we've got someone who lives and breathes music on a whole nother level. Brayden Cooper! Brayden, man,
Hello.
Welcome to the show, man. Glad you're finally on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So why don't you give everybody a little brief bio about yourself? Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you're about.
My name is Brayden Cooper. I am from Southern New Hampshire, Salem, New Hampshire. I am 20 years old, and I, just like he said, I eat, sleep, breathe music and audio. It is the single biggest thing in my life, and it's what I love doing.
Wow, and you're a young gun to boot, man. That's awesome. We don't see that a lot in this industry. A lot of the people that are into sound quality is usually like the older crowd, but that's awesome that you're representing for the what do you guys call now? The Xenials, or I don't know what they call.
Oh, I don't pay attention to all that.
Yeah, I'm Gen X, but I don't know what they call the whippersnappers. So you said that music is the biggest thing in your life, man. Where did that passion start? Walk us through those early days in your mom's basement, speakers, wiring, walls of sound. From what your bio told me. So
I mean, starting off, music is probably the single biggest thing in my life. I've been obsessed with speakers since a really, really young age. Like, I'm talking like 7 years old. I was, I believe, 13 or 14 in my mom's basement wiring up walls of sound with all of the speakers that, family would give me and I'd get for, Christmas or my birthday. And I learned about ohms very early on because I kept shorting out the Sony home receiver I had because it was wired to 1/8 of an ohm. All the positives and all the negatives together. Yeah, I had somebody gave me a 10-inch Alpine Type S that I stuck in a plastic Rubbermaid tote. Same thing. Had that wired in with everything else. So I started with the speakers very young. I always had big speakers in my room, and starting a little bit before high school, probably 7th or 8th grade. I had my own room, got big old speakers in there. I had white Van Scam speakers up on my wall.
Oh man,
sounded like garbage, but they got real loud. So that was what I cared about as a kid. But yeah, I've just been into speakers my whole life, but ultimately that means I'm into music, which I think everybody that's in this hobby is into music. Music is, in my opinion, one of the most powerful things in the world. Music is very important, I believe. And music is, one of the things that will never let me down, whenever something's going on, whenever you got something in your life, you can always turn to music. And I think most of us feel this way. It's just powerful. And that's kind of what drives all of this, is the pursuit of music and replicating it as perfectly as possible.
It is. I've said it before in this podcast. Music, for me anyway, is cathartic. I'm sure it is for a lot of people. I'm sure it is for you. You get in that car and, all your stresses kind of go away when you're jamming to some good high quality sound and high quality tunes in the car. So you got into a shop at 16, is that correct?
Yeah, I got into a local shop near me, In Focus Mobile Audio. Awesome group of guys. I was actually just there earlier today. Talk to them all the time. I worked there for about 1.5 years, I believe, a little over 1.5 years, working on car audio systems, motorcycles, and boats. On the car audio side, I did a lot of pretty basic things, deck and fours, 5 channels, a couple higher end builds. And then on the boat side, I did one huge project, which is actually the talk of the Lake Winnipesaukee group around here. Lake Winnipesaukee is a big lake up in northern New Hampshire that this boat that I built the sound system is on, and people complain all year long because it is the loudest boat on the lake.
Oh, wow.
So that kind of follows me around, but their claim to fame was actually motorcycles. They are among the best motorcycle builders.
That's awesome, man.
Cool place.
I've seen smaller setups in boats, but I've never seen, like a big sound system in a boat. I'm sure, anything's possible when you throw enough money at it. But how does that work? Like, because most boats, space is a premium. Like,
Yeah, so this was a 50-foot catamaran style boat. So it was a big boat. I believe it was two 624 big blocks. They were blown, big old superchargers the size of a Honda motor. And it had they're small cabins. They have a cuddy cabin and maybe 5 seats. They're just, go fast boats. But we did 8-inch horn tweeter marine coaxials from Rockford Fosgate, all in the cabin, just screaming right at you. Another 8 6.5s off the back of the boat, 4 10s under the seat with 6 amplifiers in the hat, 4 Rockford Punch Marines and 2 Rockford Power Series Marines. It was pretty ridiculous. I never thought you could have low end come from a boat, but this thing had some serious bass. It was pretty cool.
wow, that's awesome, man. So how old were you when you got your first vehicle and threw an install in it? Like what was your first setup like?
So I was 16. I had a system in my truck within about a month of getting it. So I had never done anything in a car at that point. I did this right before getting that job. And one of my close friends' buddies wanted, basic speaker and head unit upgrade in his Honda Accord. So we did that. The kid bought a new amp, new sub, 4 speakers, and a head unit. But then halfway through the install, he's like, "Hey, why don't you guys come check this out? I got this in my basement. I don't know if you want it." And it was a sub and amp setup. And I was like, "Yeah, of course, I'll take it." It was a Boston Acoustics GT22 with 2 Boston Acoustics Competitor 1010s.
Oh, wow.
They were in the Boston prefab box, which included 2 passive radiators. It was pretty cool. I had that in my truck almost immediately after getting it. Went right on Crutchfield and ordered all the radio parts and got right to it.
That's so funny because I know that you're a youngin', but Boston Acoustics was like the shizzle back in the day. When I was your age, Boston Acoustics is what, like, who would I compare it to? Kind of like what maybe Moscone, like it was one of the big dogs back in the day.
Yeah.
They made good stuff. I mean, they still make good stuff, but they were one of the big dogs back then. They had neodymium tweeters and really unique subwoofers. They had that subwoofer. Is that the one that looks like a racetrack? The one that's like,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, that was a cool sub.
But yeah, so that system is what actually got me stuck on the sound quality side. So probably less than 6 months after that, I wanted to upgrade. I wanted more. And then I went through 5 or 6 different setups every single time, going back to the Comp 1000s because, there were things that were louder, but very quickly I realized I was after the quality. And I just kept going back to that setup. It was just great. The Comp 1000s, they're not fantastic subs. They're not terrible. Definitely not great by modern standards, but overall they're a pretty good sounding sub. But the amp is really, really nice. I love those. But yeah, I kept going back to it. I had kicker L7s, the L7Qs, decent sub. I had at one point I had a Scar in there. I had a Fosgate sub. I had all sorts of stuff. But I just kept going back to the Boston, and then that was the starting point of the Boston Acoustics addiction.
Yeah. And it's hard to find that vintage gear too, right?
Yeah. I'll actually have to send you a photo of my basement and all the things that I have.
Oh, nice. So you're a huge Boston Acoustics fan?
Yeah, big. Their home audio stuff too. I'm sitting right next to the VRM 90 towers from them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I had Boston Acoustics in my car back in the day and they sounded awesome. That was one of the speakers that I regretted selling. Like, when you're, in this hobby.
Is it a Pro Series?
Yeah. Yep. With the neodymium tweeters.
6.5?
Yep. 6.5 inch. And there was only one shop in town sold Boston Acoustics. And I had to drive like almost an hour just to go listen to them. And I heard them on the board, which, that really doesn't give you an indicator how they're going to sound in your car. but
Yeah.
they did sound awesome in the car. And I don't know I think I went with MB Court after that. MB Court was big back in the 90s, and they had the metal tweeters, which I went with the install, and then I ended up not liking those MB Courts because the Boston acoustics just sounded smoother to my ears, and I kind of but by that time I sold them, so I was like, there's no going back. Just stick with these MB
So
Courts.
I'm not sure what series of Bostons that you had, but a lot of the later neodymium VR tweeters came with a thing called an AMD on the front. It was their patented acoustic modulation device. Basically, it blocks off the center of the tweeter, which is kind of a similar feature that a lot of other tweeters have, but it also has five little holes going across a little thing hanging over the front. And I learned from a friend who was friends with a Boston acoustics engineer. He's actually somebody I got a lot of my stuff from, that those holes are actually all slightly different lengths, and every single one of them is a Helmholtz resonator. So, sure enough, I actually took a closer look, and yeah, everyone is a slightly different length, and they use that to attenuate the really harsh resonant frequency and the ringing associated with a lot of hard dome tweeters at the time. So they sounded drastically better than most metal domes of the time. They were detailed, not crazy by modern standards. They were still pretty harsh, but comparatively to many other things at the time, they were very, very good.
Yeah, those definitely are not the ones I had. I didn't have anything like that. I had just a regular, I think 1.5 inch neodymium tweeters. Yeah, I don't even know what those words mean. What you just ran by me. One thing that I've noticed with like soft domes versus hard domes is, yeah, if you're not careful, those hard domes can get harsh. But I also noticed that you can never get that extra high sizzle out of soft dome that you can with a hard dome. At least that's just one man's opinion. But I just noticed you can't get those extra hi hats like you can with a metal dome. But to each their own, because some people swear by soft domes and some people swear by metal domes. But whatever floats your boat, right?
Yeah, honestly, I like hard domes just because that's what most of my favorite tweeters are. But I try to not group them by dome material. I try and just look at them as a tweeter. But generally, I can tell you most of the tweeters I like are hard dome. I love detail, and if you know how to tune properly, it won't sound harsh, and you won't get that fatiguing the the fatigue that a lot of people associate with the hard dome. So, but there are definitely outliers on both sides. There's some really good soft domes that I enjoy a lot too. But yeah, I'm generally hard
Yeah,
dome.
I'm on the same boat, brother. So, what clicked that made accuracy and sound quality, your lane? What clicked in there? Because I know, I imagine in your teenage years you like that thump, and you mentioned Scar and Rockford. So I imagine, I'd say about 99% of us start off with a subwoofer, and we like that bass, and we're trying to show off. And then, you know, a lot of people just stay in that lane, but some of us, the few, the proud, move into the sound quality and accuracy. What made you go to what clicked? There must have been something.
It started off with that first install in my truck. I kept going back to those Comp 1000s because they were just much cleaner, much less muddy. And then it kind of grew from there. So I'm also into home audio quite a bit. Home audio is a lot easier than car audio, and some very basic setups could sound really, really good. I had same thing, Boston Acoustics Towers, and I had a setup in my basement, and it kind of started there. I was learning about staging. I would listen to music, for hours and just listen and really enjoy the concept of things being placed in front of me properly. And it kind of grew from there. And then that was while I was simultaneously at that shop, and I did my first active system in a vehicle.
Yep.
And I was getting, resemblances of that in a car. It was a very install challenged car. It was a Mercedes SL.
Hmm.
It wasn't an ideal platform, but I was noticing that you can get that in a car, and then it just kind of spiraled from there. And then I was forever just into accuracy. I have I had so many different home setups. I experimented in my grandparents' basement to try stuff. I experimented in my bedroom. I was figuring out that different atmospheres and different rooms make speakers sound very differently, and the things that you have in the room. And it just kind of exploded. And I realized that that's what I was after: accurate sound. I enjoyed it so much. Listening to music like that was so enjoyable.
Yeah,
And
it
yeah,
is. Once you get a nice clear system, like if you have a reference system. For me, my reference was having a set of studio monitors in my house. And once I got my car sounding better than my studio monitors, I knew that I was onto something. So a lot of people, for the listeners out there that might not know you, one of the things that you're associated with is the Camry. I call it the Camry. Why don't you
the
tell
Camry.
people a little bit about that Camry?
The Camry is a fun car. The Camry is a 2006 Toyota Camry owned by my one of my best friends, Gage. We built that car over the last 2 years. It's a pretty cool setup. It started life with a relatively basic active system that lasted less than a month and then grew into the vehicle that people know now. It has 5 Boston Acoustics GT series amplifiers and a Helix DSP Ultra in the back, and actually even still to this day what I would call very nice amp rack. A lot of stuff going on, cramming 5 gigantic Class AB amps in a small space is a pretty big challenge. Those amps actually take dual 4-gauge inputs as well, so there's 2 four-way power distro blocks on that amp rack. It's pretty ridiculous. I'll send you a photo actually after this so you can check it out. I don't think you've seen the amp rack in the trunk because it always is full of garbage and all the stuff I take when I travel.
Yeah,
And
I've
then
I've seen your car twice. I saw, when you had the subs in there, the Boston Acoustic subs, and I saw when you have when you had the first tweeters, and then you switched up the tweeters the second time, and
yeah,
it sounded fantastic both times. It kicked ass.
yeah, yeah. So in the front we have Boston SPG 60s. That was the best component woofer that they ever made. They were in the door for the longest time, and then this year I actually built stack fab door enclosures for them. They still aren't finished. They haven't been finished for about 6 months, but they will be finished. Those are really, really good. They do well up there. And the front kick is 2 Boston Acoustics Pro 8.5 LFs in a roughly 0.75 cubic foot fiberglass box. Stupidly solid box. It's about a half inch of fiberglass. And then the entire box is lined with Resonix, CLD, and clay, and then stuffed with fiber mat. Really, really solid box. Then up on the dash in the corners, I had Boston Acoustics 2-inch mid ranges out of a VR35 home audio speaker.
Okay.
But those weren't quite up to par, and they were fading very quickly from the sun, and the surrounds were getting stiff. So we switched out to Morel CCWRs, which are technically widebands. And then the tweeters were Boston Acoustics VRHOs. It's a high output version out of their home audio VR single digit series towers, VR 1, 2, 3, that stuff. And then in the back, everybody's favorite part, there is 2 Boston Acoustics SPG 555s, the racetrack, in a really, really thick 2.25-inch trunk baffle mounted to the subframe of the car. And so it's
Yes.
a pretty cool system.
So you're running those infinite baffle, right?
Trunk baffle.
Trunk
Yeah.
baffle?
The cabin vent is pulled out of the trunk, so they, they move a lot of air. So much air actually moves out of that cabin vent that the rear bumper flexes like crazy. The part at the bottom right next to the wheel will kind of slap the the mounting behind it because it moves so much from the air going in and out of there.
Oh
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
trunk baffle.
I got a taste of it. I remember
Yeah.
when you gave me a demo, I think you put on like something from back in the day, Bass Mechanic, right? From the Bass Mechanic scene?
I don't know what song I played for you, but they're like some indie music things, but they have just this stupid low fundamental bass. And yeah, that's the party trick. Everybody loves that. I still haven't heard a SQ car that can do what that car can do. They aren't they aren't by any means the most accurate subs, but they have a fun factor to them that's just unlike anything else. They have that, so they actually have nearly 4 inches of Xmech.
That's incredible.
Yeah, technically only rated 22 millimeters of Xmax. I'd love to see the Klippel tested to see what they really do. But yeah, they have 45 millimeters one way of Xmech. And when I am playing them all out, they use every single bit of it. They have just under 4 inches peak to peak of excursion. I'm sure there's videos. Peter Steinbacher, PS Sound, actually has a video somewhere on his phone. I'll have to have him send me it of them going absolutely nuts. They move a lot and they move a lot of air.
Yeah, I think Peter posted a picture of your car, or not a picture, I'm sorry, a video of your car on YouTube, didn't he?
Yeah, actually at SVR the second time
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was with
Did he show you? Did he highlight the subwoofers or
no, not a video of
no?
them playing. I
Okay.
thought I saw them somewhere on one of his pages, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
could
I'll have to get
swear.
that video from him.
Yeah, I'd have to look back. So for people out there that aren't familiar with these subs, basically picture almost like a supersized 6x9. It looks like back then those were the. I'm sorry, were those Boston Acoustics or JBL?
Boston.
Boston. Okay. So back in the day, back in the 90s, I think maybe I'm not sure exactly when they came out, if they were late 90s, 2000s or mid 90s, but they supposed to be like a racetrack subwoofer, look like a racetrack inspired design. And I don't know the backstory behind them. I mean, you would know better than I do because you're the expert on those speakers, but those basically are old school speakers. And they what would you say roughly they would be the equivalent of? Would they be the equivalent of a
They
12
were
or a 15?
so the 555 in the name stands for the cone SD.
Mm-hmm.
They're 555 square centimeters, which is slightly larger than a normal 12. So they're about like a 13.
So it's like you have two 13s in your car then.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
They measure roughly 10 by like 13 and 3/4 inches by the surround. And they're actually a competitor to the JL-W7 at the time. They have a 3.5 inch coil, just like the 13W7.
Yeah.
I actually owned a 13W7. I bought it specifically to compare to those. I had them both in boxes in my truck, and I was going back and forth. And the just for anyone who's curious, the 13W7 could play ever so slightly lower in a sealed box, but I don't think it had the accuracy of the SPGs. So I ended up actually selling it. I sold it for only like $500 before the latest price hike, and I could have gotten a lot more for it if they had adjusted that price. But oh
Yeah,
well.
yeah. So do you know the design backstory behind that? Why they created that subwoofer in that unusual shape? Was it to have better install options, or was that just because
I
I
don't
know.
really know.
Yeah. I remember
Um, uh,
advertising at the time had something to do with racetrack,
yeah, I
inspired.
think it was just they had back then they had the Sony had the Pentagons, Bazooka had the triangles. Everybody
Yep.
was.
Kicker had
I
the
think it
square.
probably fell into more of a marketing style thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they're
But it
unique.
it
They're
definitely
shaped
did help
unique.
with what?
They have a unique shape, so I feel like they're almost easier to install, especially in the
Yeah,
configuration that you have them in. You kind of have them at an angle. I would almost,
they,
seem like they're easier to install. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know.
they
I'm
do
just
fit.
spitballing out, but they are
They do
uniquely
fit
shaped.
absolutely perfect in the Camry.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
do fit well there.
It'd be great to
Um,
get that one of those subs over to Nick for his little testing exercise that he's doing, huh? What do you think about
yeah,
that?
I was going to a while ago. I forget what happened, but the one I had at the time wasn't all that great.
Uh-huh.
And then I actually get this. I have so many of them that I forgot I had this one specific one that I just stumbled upon when I moved about month and something ago. I found a almost brand new one. So I should probably send him a text and ask if he wants to
That
that
would be
Klippel tested.
awesome. I'd
Love
love
it.
to know just out of curiosity, because I know you said they're not like 100% sound cue subs, but from what I heard in your car, they sounded great. I mean, it could be a combination of your tuning or the entire system as a whole, but I kind of like in your car more to like a SQL, because just the way that it gets down. But I mean, that's just my opinion. That's one man's 2 cents. People might disagree. You might disagree with me. I felt like your car was a SQL because it was a jack of all trades. It did fantastic. What you had really good imaging, sounded clean, clean, clean. But then when you put, when you wanted to show off that bass, it could do that because a lot of sound cue cars can't get down like that. I mean,
Yeah, no, they are really, really good sounding sub. Just for a fun vehicle, yes, being being a party trick is cool. Hair tricks at 13 hertz are awesome, but they do sound really good. Don't get me wrong. They're just not, the most accurate subs ever. I always have a little bit of a hard time getting them to perfectly blend. Honestly, mostly due to the backseat resonating. I cut out the ski pass to let some air get through.
yep, yep.
But with the backseat resonance, I have a little bit of a hard time getting them to disappear. But yeah, they're really good. I actually forgot to mention real quick about the tweeters in that car. They were upgraded to the JBL Arena berylliums, so that's what's in there now.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that. And you made those pillars that are in there now?
Yep, everything fabricated I made. So pillars, mid pods, door pods, front sub, rear sub, amp rack, which is a good or bad thing depending on what stage people have seen the car in. It's definitely showed up to some shows looking pretty rough, but it's one big experiment. That car is purely sound quality.
Yeah, it's like your R&D vehicle, right?
Yeah, I'm actually going to own the vehicle in a few weeks, so buying it from him.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, so speaking of, let's we'll get back to this car in a little in a minute, but one question I want to ask you. So Nick dropped his subwoofer testing thing that he did online, and he's causing quite the kerfuffle online. Everybody's talking about it. It's been the talk of the town for the past 24 hours, and it's upset some people. Some people, to me, it's kind of funny. I'm just sitting back and watching all the drama go down. What do you take? What's your take on it?
I think if you own a sub and you're happy with it, then don't pay any attention and don't care because that wasn't done for you. That wasn't done for the people that enjoy what they have, just want to get down every day a little bit. That was done for the people like me, the absolute freaks of nature that will do anything they can to get every bit of sound quality possible. It's just not for everybody. And I have noticed that the vast majority of people commenting about it did not read the entire description before just immediately diving into the specs. If you read the homepage of that article, which I've done twice now, it does a very good job of breaking down why things were weighted this way, what this measurement is, what it means for the performance of the driver. It's a great wealth of information, and I am immensely appreciative that he did this. It also pretty closely backs up my findings. There were actually a few oddballs that I couldn't predict, but the problem with using your ears to say his results are right or wrong is the fact that most of the time you're not listening to the driver, you're listening to the car. And that is the big battle that we face in this industry and hobby. Yeah, you're not listening to the driver in a lot of these installs. You're listening to the car. Some cars do a really good job of covering up distortion on the low end. The Camry is actually one of them. You don't really hear a lot of that distortion going on in that very low end, but if you drop the seat down and you put your head next to the sub, that bass sounds like a wet fart. It's not great, but that specific vehicle just happens to do a really good job of kind of covering it up. That's why one, I think it's invalid to say, I think this driver sounds really good. These tests have to be wrong. That's not a very valid way to look at it.
Yeah, I mean, I liken it, basically like if You go and some people buy something from, like, I don't know, say McDonald's, and they buy a Big Mac or whatever, and it's got the sauce on it. And some people hate the Big Mac sauce. It's like, it's not for everyone. And some people might not like the sound of a certain subwoofer, might not like the sound of a certain speaker. It's not for everyone. If you're happy with your system, your subwoofer, you shouldn't even be chiming in, because it's not that what Nick is doing is not meant for everyone. It's meant for those people, the fanatics that are trying to get that last 1%, trying to squeeze out, every last drop out of their system. They're trying to get the absolute best, which in retrospect or in hindsight, sometimes you're never going to get there. Every car is different, and there's always compromises with every car. For example, the Camry is a really good platform, but some cars, some trucks, some, hatchbacks, they all have advantages and disadvantages. Some cars have big dashes. Some cars have long dashes, wide dashes, nice spots for pillars. Some cars don't. Some cars already come with mids in the dash. Some people have to freaking remove the windshield, remove the dash. So every car is a compromise. I think that holds true with speakers too. Like, you're going to get, you're never going to get a 100% sounding system. I mean, look at Luke, for example. He had an awesome freaking crazy system in his truck, and he's changing it up. Anybody in their right mind looking from the outside in would be like, these guys are crazy. You know what I mean? The amount of money, the amount of effort, the amount of labor that we're putting into these cars is just crazy. You have to be crazy to be in this, in that, I would call you guys the 1%ers when you're trying to get that last freaking 1% of sound quality. That's what this testing that Nick is doing. That's what that's for. If you're happy with your sub, be happy with your sub, man. Just enjoy it, crank it. Who cares what other people say? You know what I mean?
Exactly. I think I'm going to refrain from that comment, but it's very frustrating reading a lot of these comments, especially ones trying to invalidate the testing, because I've spoken to Nick a lot about this, and the group of people I'm friends with has all been pretty involved and up to date with what's going on with the Klippel testing. And this was done by an incredibly reputable lab with a Klippel, which is an incredibly complex scientific device. It is every single possible precaution was taken, and every single bit of care to test the drivers and do this and that. Everything was taken to a pretty extreme level. Like, there was a lot of diligence here that I don't think many people would be able to do. The other thing too is, if you actually read it and just don't skim through it and find what you want to hear and don't want to hear, there's a lot of sections where he is crediting these certain drivers. I mean, you read the Acoustic Elegance SBB 15 one. He says straight up, this is an absolutely phenomenal driver. It is. Everybody knows it is. It is. I love the Acoustic Elegance drivers. They are absolutely beautiful sounding.
Oh, yeah.
And then he puts out, this is a great driver. Only thing is, it can't get down all that much, which everybody knows. You cannot get crazy output out of a single Acoustic Elegance sub. It doesn't happen. Some vehicles, you can maybe get away with a single 18. Luke's truck does that very well. And Camry does really well with the single 15.
Yep.
I think he has an SBP 15, that exact sub. But
no, he's got the IBAU.
He does?
Yep.
Yep. Sorry. But yeah, they're a fantastic driver, and he says that straight up. They just can't get all that loud. So it's, one, just like you said, it's a compromise, and two, it's perfectly accurate data that tracks with real world experience. Specifically, real world experience in well-built, well-treated cars. And it tracks with all of the subs that I've seen so far, track with my opinions and the data that I've seen on them and the things that I've heard, both about them and personally with my own ears. So,
yeah. And the way I look at it is, whether you're a fan of Nick you don't like them, you're neutral, whatever. Here you have a wicked car audio enthusiast. First and foremost, Nick is a huge car audio enthusiast. I mean, the people, not for nothing, but maybe, the people that like at, all these big companies, I'm not going to name any names, but a whole bunch of those people, they might be just a bunch of freaking shareholders to a company that they could care less about car audio. You know what I mean? Maybe the founder started as that, but he's got shareholders that he's got to be beholden to, and companies that he's got to be beholden to, and they're making other types of products in their product lineup or whatever, and they're not sticking to, one specialized product like Nick is. Nick's product is Resonix and making, high grade sound deadening materials for cars. And it's because he's a sound quality enthusiast himself. So he knows what he's looking for or what's missing in the subwoofer world. So he got his hands on as many subwoofers as he could, sent them out to get tested so that he could compare and say, okay, I want to build my subwoofer better than this. What can this one do? So he's trying to make a no compromise subwoofer. I'm sure yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Just sorry to cut you off, but
No.
putting this out there, that is exactly how Resonix was started in the first place.
Yep.
The sound deadener company that he loved was no longer producing product, and he was looking for the same, if not better, performance. And I actually can't remember if this was a personal conversation with him or if this was on a podcast. I feel like it's both.
He's talked about it ad nauseum.
This specific thing, finding somebody that can make this product was actually very difficult, because the product that he brought to them, Sound Deadener Showdown, was pretty good. And most of these places said, yeah, we can't top that.
Yep.
And the one that finally did said, we don't know if we can, but we'll take a try at it. Finding these manufacturers was a big deal, but the reason he went through all that effort is because he was after the best, and the company that he was using shut down. So that's kind of how the subwoofer thing came about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
He knows the actual answer, but
Yeah, we talked about it at length. I had him on my podcast. I don't know if you heard it yet, but yeah, you're gonna take a like a sampling. He could have just picked one woofer or two woofers and said, I want what is arguably one of the best subwoofers in the car audio world. Send me a couple of acoustic elegant subwoofers. I don't care about the rest. No, he actually went out of his way. He spent over $20,000 of his own money to get this information. He didn't have to do that. You know what I mean?
And that's why, if somebody personally doesn't like Nick, that's cool. It's whatever. But use the information for your own good. Don't just dismiss it. That information is here to stay, and it is a wealth of information. It is very useful. The other thing, pay attention to what's going on with specific drivers, because if you're looking for a driver for a specific application, say a front sub, where you don't need to play down super low, granted, even in a front sub, if you're crossing at 50 hertz, realistically, you should care about distortion all the way down to 20 hertz. But, if you're on a budget or you have a specific criteria, just because that sub didn't score well on the total ratings list does not mean that it's going to be a good driver for your application. Read the intro, try to understand what is going on with, what these different things mean, and then make a choice from there. You don't have to buy his sub if you read the information. You don't even have to think about it. You can use that information. Believe it or not, you can use that information for your own good. Who would have thought? So that's what I hope people use this as, is like, hey, this is a great wealth of information. Let's use it. So that's what I hope comes from it ultimately. And in the end, it's only going to better this industry.
Exactly. More information is never a bad thing. And just like you said, take the acoustic elegance, because he already tested that one. In his first batch of testing, that's one of the ones that's already up there. A lot of people already knew, it just confirmed what a lot of people already knew. And for next season, I was planning on going with a infinite baffle, and top of my top choice is acoustic elegance. And he just confirmed what I was thinking. Now, if I was after 130, 140 decibels, I would be like, shit, I can't use this acoustic elegance because according to Nick's test, it's limited on the Xmax, and maybe I should look at something else, or maybe I should wait till his subwoofers come out. But I'm not a SPL kind of guy. So, the Xmax doesn't bother me. I don't mind 105 decibel, 110 decibel. That's fine for me. I'm not I don't crank it anymore like I used to. But, so a subwoofer like that is right up my alley. So information is always useful. So anybody out there that, like you said, if you don't like Nick, you like Nick, or you're neutral, or you don't, whatever, you got information right in front of you, man. Like use it, put your feelings aside, and put whatever reservations you have towards somebody. You're not buying Nick, you're buying a product, and whether or not you use his subwoofer or buy his subwoofer or not, the information is there. Use it to your own gain,
Exactly. It's there. Use it. If you don't want to use it, don't use it. It is what it is. I mean, I am pretty drama free. So like, I'm not gonna get involved, specific people or this or that. Like, it is what it is. I, I like everybody that does this. There's not a lot of people I don't like, if, even if I have a reservation about any of these guys in my head, if I go and meet them in real life, clean slate, not everybody is the same in person as they are online. It is what it is. It doesn't change my opinion of people, but I just hope that people use the information for good and don't think that it's just one big marketing ploy. But, at the same time, he spent that much money, he deserves to use it as a marketing ploy if his product can do what he says it can do, which I have no doubt it will. However, I'm not going to say it will because I don't know if it will. If it does what he says it will do, that is awesome. I got to hear the Gus 12 prototype in his car, and if anyone wants to read that comment, you can just look under the Resonix post. I put up and actually DIY I put up a very long comment giving my experience with that sub, and it was very, very positive.
Yeah, I've heard really nothing but positive things about it. I missed it. I was giving demos in my car, and Nick had to go to 2 weddings that day. So I didn't quite get to, I was literally about to jump in his car, but he had to take off. And, people, when you're giving demos, people are like, oh, can I hear your car? Can I hear your car? And I was like, man, I want to listen to Nick's car. And then Nick's like, I got to take off to 2 weddings. And I was like, damn it, I didn't get to hear the sub.
He shouted from across the parking lot, Brayden, I gotta go. Get over here. So.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things. I'm sure I'm gonna hear it eventually, because Nick's part of the community. You know what I mean? Here's the funny thing, right? I'll tell you a little story. I met Nick back in 2020, okay? During COVID. We went to a get together, and Nick was he's still skinny, but he was even skinnier back then. He was the skinny punk, right? And like you just said a couple minutes ago about the personality on the internet, doesn't match the personality that Nick is when you meet him in person. What's that candy? I forget the name of that candy where the little Sour Patch, is it Sour Patch? He's doing like villainous stuff to him, sweet. And then it turns sweet. That's Nick. Because when you meet Nick in person, he is the nicest guy that you could ever meet. Like nicer than most people at those meets. At the 2020 meet, Nick literally brought boxes of Resonix and passed it out to everybody, like for free. I got 2 boxes of Resonix, which was like $200 worth of Resonix. And at that meet that the get together that we had in 2020, and he just gave, he had like 10 or 15 boxes of the stuff in his car. He gave it away. How many people do you know do that? You know what I mean? And a lot of people judge somebody based on, their keyboard antics. And, Nick's not one to shut up. Nick's pretty smart. He might be a little abrasive at times, but when you get to meet him in person, the guy is like one of the biggest teddy bears that you'll ever meet. That's my opinion. But, don't crucify the guy just from what you read on the internet. When you meet Nick in person, he's a freaking cool guy. All right. That's all I got to
Yeah.
say on that.
It
But
Nick is, and you know what? If you don't like Nick, use him as a wealth of information. Nick is very smart, and he, at least as long as I've been doing this, everything he says, is for a reason.
Hmm?
He really is for the better good of this community. And if anyone wants to say otherwise or comment on this podcast and call me a shill, then it is what it is. But I can say my experience with Nick has been nothing but great, and he has actually been the only person that has never led me in the wrong direction doing this so far. Every single bit of help or information that he has given me, which has been a lot. I have seen him many, many, many times because I am in New England and I go to all the New England stuff. He's in New York, which
Yep.
isn't New England, but all the New England stuff is close by. Yeah, everything he has ever told me has been true. So, do what you want with it. If you don't like him, cool. I'm not going to judge you for it either. If you don't like him, it is what it is. Some people might think some sort of way for some reason. I don't care. So, Nick is great. He has been great to me. He has taught me so much, and he continues to teach me so much as time goes on, both directly and indirectly through things like the subwoofer testing. So, yeah,
Exactly.
thank you, Nick.
Yeah. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for your contributions to the community. Some people, some people appreciate you, and some people hate you. What can you do? You can't please them all. So anyway, moving on. I know that you bought an Audi, right? That's your next project, and what's the name of it now? I know you gave it a little name, right?
Yep. Project Rowdy.
Project
Um,
Rowdy. So what inspired this build? What's going on with this one?
the Camry sounds like shit. And what I mean by that is that car is pretty good. It not not just subjectively, it is objectively pretty good. It is a pretty accurate car, does pretty good all around, incredible low end. It is the tonal accuracy is great. The imaging is great. It has very little rear pull. Still way too much for me, but very little. It's overall a pretty good car, but not for me. It is it is nowhere even remotely close to where I want to be. That car again is good, but it's just not what I want. I am after honestly pretty stupid, financially irresponsible level of perfection, which there's no such thing as perfection in a car, but I want to get as close as possible.
Well, if you're
So,
gonna do it in your 20s, is the best time to do it.
exactly. Exactly. I keep thinking, and everybody that I know, they do one crazy car when they're young, and then they never do it again. So I'm gonna go all out here because I know I will probably never get to build a vehicle quite this
Insane.
intrinsic. Yeah.
So this is so you're gonna call it an end game insane level project. So what can you tease about what's planned?
Right off the rip, full Accuton automotive three-way setup,
Nice.
C30 AMs in the pillars, but possibly the sail panels. We'll play around and see what works better. I think the sail panels are actually going to work better in that car, just based off the shape of the vehicle and the seating position. That car, you sit on the floor, you are low. So it might be nice to get that extra width. C100 AMs in the dash corners. Everything is going to be all 3D scanned and modeled. 3D scanned with the help of John at my work and modeled by me.
Nice.
Same thing with the firewall. So I'm doing the C165 AMs in the kicks. That car has really nice openings in the kick panels that will allow me to do really easy. I would call IB. It breathes into the subframe of the vehicle with no other openings into the car. So it's pretty much IB. I may open them up through the wheel well if there's issues, but and then kind of undecided on the sub setup in front, kind of playing with dual Purify 8s or single Resonix Gus 12 in the passenger side, playing with a bunch of different options. It kind of depends on once I pull the dash and get the car scanned how much room I have to work with.
Yep.
Because obviously there's only limited amounts of areas where you can cut through into that car has a very nice area that is not in the wheel well and not in the engine bay. It's kind of like a 2-layer firewall, so I won't have to deal with crazy heat or crazy engine noise. But it's only so big, so it's kind of going to be a game of finding out what's right for the application. So it'll either be IB left and right, or it's going to be a single sealed on the right side.
That's
And
awesome.
then,
Because
sorry,
no, I was saying that's awesome because those purifies. You're talking about the one with that strange looking surround, right?
Yushindi.
Yeah, is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah, does Luke still have those in his truck? I know Luke's redoing his truck.
Yeah, he has the PTT 6.5s.
Yeah. But yeah, those I remember Aaron tested those and they got really good feedback from Aaron.
Yeah, those are great drivers.
Yeah.
Very linear. They sound so good.
Well, I like
Very
what you
good
did with the
Xmax.
Camry, which you put the 2.8s. That's not a bad idea to put the two purifies up there like that and maybe
It
do
would be
some gusses in the
stereo
trunk.
left right. So
Oh, you're
if I
doing stereo
went,
left, right?
uh,
Okay.
yeah, if I went with left right IB
Mm-hmm.
options,
Yep.
actually kind of similar to Chris Pierce's car using the dual front sub and dual mid bass.
Yep.
It would be either an 8 or 10 through the firewall on each side,
Oh, okay.
or a single 12 on the passenger side.
Oh, I got you. I thought you
The
said you were going to do 2.8 similar to what you did in the Camry. I got
no,
confused there
sorry.
because I was
Yeah,
like,
so
well, that would be a
that's
good idea since it's already tried and true and tested.
mm,
That would be interesting. I mean,
yeah,
that's not a bad idea either. But so yeah, I'm sure you're waiting for more feedback or testing from the Gus 12, right?
that that part of the build will be coming along later on. So it's actually not. There's plenty of time for me to make a decision. And then same thing with the rear. I am mutilating this car beyond belief, which is sad because it is an extremely clean B8 Audi
Oh wow.
with very low miles, clean title. It's such a clean car in a classification of cars that aren't normally clean.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm destroying this poor car. Um,
Do you
if
have a build log going on that people could see, or is this top secret?
Yeah, I will. I'll be making social medias for both my tuning, which we can talk about later, and
Sure.
for my build blog. It's Cooper's Customs. That's the name of my LLC that I created
Mm-hmm.
for this. So it'll be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok for short form content, and YouTube for long form content.
Okay.
Everything can be watched there. It's going to be pretty well documented.
Yeah, if you
And
send me the links, I'll post them up for the
yeah,
listeners
well,
out there, and they can follow you on Instagram. They can follow you on Dyma, and because this sounds like an interesting build. So
yeah, sounds
did you
great.
just hint that you're going to be doing some tuning? You're starting a tuning business too? That what I just heard?
Yeah, we'll talk on that in a bit, but yeah,
Yeah.
more to come there.
Yep.
What else? Rear of the Audi.
Yep.
I am doing 2 Symphony Prestigios powering the mid ranges and tweeters.
Mm-hmm.
They are Gordon Taylor modded Prestigios,
Okay.
and then the mid basses are going to be powered by a Prodigio,
Mm-hmm.
which is a Class AB version of that same Class A amp. Puts out a ton of power for the mid basses, and then everything else is kind of undecided. Probably going to end up with all micro precision stuff because they are also some of the best, possibly the best amplifiers money can buy. They're phenomenal.
Are you talking about the
Um,
mono blocks? Those mono?
yep, yep.
Yeah, those are
So
awesome looking amps too. But woo, they are pricey.
yeah, they are. I would probably end up with a 5 series 2-channel for the rear fill, and then I'm kind of undecided on sub power yet. I'd love to get my hands on a Symphony Desiderio, the absolute monster, but they are very expensive and very hard to find.
Those are
So,
Italian amps, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, they're gorgeous. Those are all Class A, aren't they?
So the Prestigios are Class A, Prodigios are Class AB. I say I believe so on Italian because it's now Quartorigo.
Okay,
I
okay.
don't know where they stand now, but those amps are Italian.
Yeah, yeah. They're gorgeous amplifiers. I mean, the only
Yeah.
thing I might be concerned with is the amount of, because Class A is pretty power hungry. Are you doing anything to the electrical system or to beef
Yep.
it up
So
for?
the car already has a rear located BMS system. Everything's in the back. I'm going to be changing out the main battery
Mhm.
to a lithium cell and then doing a separate LTO bank. LTO is just a type of lithium that has a extremely long life, but you can also use almost 100% of their capacity. So like standard lead acid, you can use maybe 10% has a 90% reserve. AGMs, you can get away with 50, regular lithiums, almost 80%. The LTOs are really great because you can run them down every time. So I can basically give demos for hours and hours without worrying about damaging the health of the battery if I kill them. So there'll be a pretty big LTO bank in the back because yeah, it is a lot of power.
Yeah, it's a lot of
The
firepower there, and I'm sure the stock alternator might need a little beefing too, wouldn't you say?
uh, Probably not. Even though the amps are pretty inefficient, everything else will be pretty efficient. Like the sub amps will be efficient. That's where most of your power comes from. Not only that, the all the drivers in the car are going to be pretty efficient.
Mhm.
So it's not going to be like a crazy high power system.
Yep.
And I physically wouldn't be able to listen at those volumes like that while driving anyway. So I don't think there will ever be an issue with the alternator. I've never seen it be an issue on anything like that.
Yep,
So
yep. So, let me
yeah,
ask you this, getting back to the micro precision amplifiers, what's your opinion on these mega expensive, esoteric, exotic amps versus, let's say, just your regular ARC audio or just the common amps that the sound quality world uses, like the Helix amplifiers or the
I
um,
mean, so
Mosconis,
one,
the common man amplifiers versus those.
yeah.
Are you hearing a sonic difference? I mean, because I've heard a lot of systems with, I've heard systems with the what the heck is it called? What are the GAN amplifiers? Who is it that makes those again? I'm having a brain fart.
Sound digital.
Sound Digital, yeah. I've heard a car with Sound Digitals that sounded fantastic, and I've heard cars with old school amps and whatnot, and I've seen amps that were some of those amps, micro precision amps, or like the Helix amp, or no, the Brax amp, cost as much as somebody's entire system and their car.
Yeah. So this is a complicated one for several reasons. One, I love all those amps you listed. I mean, I like Mosconis. I love ARCs. The the ARC Audio Coppers, I would probably put in that kind of ultra high end category. Same thing
Hmm.
with the SEs; those are really great.
Yep.
I am doing an install. I'm probably tuning it on Monday. It'll probably be done with an ARC Falcon 12 right now at work. There, I love that stuff. I mean, I like it all, but so the reason why it's complicated is because most people's vehicles will never be able to you'll never be able to hear that difference.
Hmm.
Again, kind of coming into the you're listening to the vehicle thing. Most people's installs and sound treatment aren't up to par. And more importantly, most people's tuning skills aren't up to par. That's kind of a huge issue because it's hard to speak on something when you're not really getting the full potential of it. So like a build like Carson Steigerwaltz, the very well known Stags Audio and his Porsche. That is one of those cars where you can hear a difference, and I heard it immediately. I heard that car many times. I heard it at SVR most recently, and then I heard it 2 weeks ago with the full micro precision setup
Hmm.
and the Brax DSP. And I can tell you for certain, not even up for discussion, that car, there was a difference. Now, it was not a night and day difference. This is not a difference that the average person should go out and buy these amps. But for somebody like me and somebody like him, yeah, it is worth it. I can tell you that. It is subtle, but the the precision of a snap and the sounds of a voice, not just like the fundamental of the voice, but everything around it, the presence. There's certain things that just come to life when you're listening in a vehicle that is truly built well, designed well, and has drivers that are capable of resolving this detail. There is a difference. Is it for everybody? No. But it's for somebody like me, and it is there. It's absolutely there.
So you're
Luke's truck.
talking like the best of the best.
Yeah, you need a vehicle that can actually use these amplifiers.
Mhm.
I would never tell almost anybody to go buy those.
Yeah.
They are honestly where most people should spend their money is more sound treatment. Whenever you ask about an upgrade, honestly, the answer should be install.
Yep.
Being honest, with most of the cars that I've heard, the answer should be install.
Yeah.
I my car has $180 Morel mid ranges. It had the Boston tweeters for a long time, which aren't all that great. They're really good. They're not great, but it sounds great because that install in that absolute tin can of a car is really good. The car is treated really well. All of my enclosures are internally deadened and dampened. Like but even that car, I wouldn't put those amps on that car. But, my point is there's there's a lot more you can do to your cheap stuff before you get into the expensive stuff. That car sounds really, really good with really, really cheap stuff, vintage stuff that you can get for nothing. It's all in the tuning and the installation. That's everybody's heard Peter talk about it for years. It's install and tuning.
Yep.
The install is critical. So most of these cars, it's not worth to get that crazy expensive amp and that crazy expensive DSP. But for the ones that it is worth it. And I can tell you that for a fact. I am very excited to hear Luke's truck with all of the Brax and micro precision amplification. That is another one of those vehicles that is probably going to hear a difference. I'm not going to tell you it will because I haven't heard it yet, but I can tell you it probably will. I like to speak from experience and fact, not just suspicion. That's why I say probably will. But they're not for everybody. But for some cars, it is worth it.
Yeah, Luke's truck was pretty wild before he started this new project that he's doing. Now it's like Godzilla level wild.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, have you ever gotten?
Just wait till you see his amp rack.
Oh, I saw some pictures of it and I was like, oh wow, the CAD drawings that he had going or online so far. I know he was showing 3 different configurations, but knowing Luke, it's gonna be, because I know what a stickler for details Luke is.
Yeah, those 3 photos were very early on. You should it is
pretty wild now.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
So
have you ever gotten a demo in your makes Near? I'm sure you have, right?
Yeah, many times.
Yeah. So take Near car, for example. So Near car is full DIY. He did that all himself. No installers, no everything. Like we said earlier, the Camry's a great platform, but he's got ARC amps, he's got Excelsior speakers, Acoustic Elegance, Infinite Baffle subwoofer. His system is as simple as you can get. He's doing some beta testing for Excelsior on the wide bands. I don't know if you got to listen to those, but car is literally probably what 2 or 3 of those amps would cost, like total. Yeah, so you can get great sound with very little money, in the sound cue world. So, but yeah, I know what you're saying. If you're trying to go from 95% to 98% or even 100%, yeah, you're trying to get that last. When you're trying to make that big leap, it's an expensive leap too. Just to get that small.
It is not a linear scale.
No, sadly it's not. Once you get to that, it's the law of diminishing results. That's the sad thing about it, but this hobby could get quite addicting too, because once you hear a car and you step into other people's cars and you're like, and it's funny because people step, like you said earlier, you were talking about your Camry and you're like, oh, it's this trash. But I bet you $20 before you had all that system that you have on there, the younger you would have freaking giving up your left leg for what you have in that Camry now. You know what I mean? So once you get used to what you have, you still crave more and more and more. I don't know what it is about this hobby. I mean, it's a sickness, man. I've said it before in other podcasts. This is not not for the faint of heart, you know?
Yeah, no, it's not. It is challenging. I think all of us would be lying if we said it wasn't challenging. It
Oh yeah,
is,
it definitely is. It can get
yeah.
frustrating at times when you're trying to get that awesome sound. So why don't you tell the audience out there and the listeners about this new tuning thing that you're exploring?
Yeah, so I figured out tuning pretty early on. I have tuned that Camry, kid you not, hundreds of times. It is so fun to me.
Hmm.
And when something is fun, I think you learn it about 10 times faster than when it's not fun.
Oh,
Um,
definitely.
I I love doing it. And recently, I had started tuning more vehicles for both my work and some friends. And I realized, hey, I'm really good at this. And I really enjoy doing this. And that's kind of how the idea started. And then just recently, I tuned my first few customer vehicles. One of them was a Jeep, which horrendous platform, but she had a actually really nice system. It was a three-way active system with a front and rear sub that was installed by a shop somewhat local to me. The install was of pretty good quality, like overall pretty good install,
Mm.
but the tune was actually so bad that I said, "Let me go grab my laptop." I ran inside and sat in her car for 45 minutes to give her a more acceptable result to listen to while she that was like the consultation when she came by to give her a more acceptable result to go listen to for the next 2 weeks before it gets tuned. It was that bad.
Wow.
And this is a really well-known shop. Like it's a pretty big shop. And like I said, the install looked great, but the tune was horrendous.
Hmm.
And I tuned another vehicle recently, a GMC Sierra, full Utopia build, all Arc Series amps, Audio Mobile Encore 15. And the those are just two of the recent ones that I've done, just for example. But the best feeling in the world is when those people text me and say, "I just spent 4 hours in my garage listening to my car. It sounds phenomenal." That is the best feeling because you took a car that was either terrible or not great or not at its full potential, and you gave that person what they wanted, and they love it. It is the best feeling, and I want to do that for more people. I would I would go as far to say that I am really good at tuning. It is something that just comes natural to me. I understand acoustics and more specifically vehicle acoustics. They just come naturally. It's something that I love. I obsess over it, and it's something that I am excited to offer to other people. And specifically the people that, might not be able to afford one of the big crazy shops to come tune their vehicle. It's just something that I love. And, unfortunately there are more than quite a few both shops and people that think they know how to tune and unfortunately they can't. And it is a very, very challenging thing to hear so many of these cars that were, tuned by that person themselves or tuned by a more well-known tuner. Not saying that many well-known tuners are bad. I have a couple tuners that I absolutely love and think they make phenomenal sounding vehicles, but there's some other ones that just can't. And it's almost sad to get in someone's car that is, built well and looks great, and it just sounds like shit.
Yeah, I've come
It
across that quite a few times where the shops got excellent fabricators, they got excellent installers, but tuning wise, they lacked in that area.
Yeah.
It's I've said it before, it's like a dark art, man. It takes a lot. Here's the thing with tuning, it takes a lot of hours of practice unless you're a savant, you know. To some people it comes easier than others, but you know, I sat in my car for like 8, 9 months and couldn't tune it worth the shit. It's a lot of
And
it's a lot of what you call it, error and trial and error, and you're trying and you're trying. So not knocking any shops out there, but I know that it takes a lot of hours of somebody. So if a shop has a great tuner, they need to hang on to that guy,
Yeah.
because it is
Yeah.
it is kind of a dark art. And go ahead.
The other thing is too, not many people have good ears.
Yeah,
It,
yep,
the ears is the other big, big part of it.
yep,
It, you have good ears, you can pick something out immediately. I listened to your car. You remember at HVR?
yeah,
I hopped
yep,
in your car.
yep.
Why don't you tell everybody within 30 seconds what happened?
Oh yeah, it was funny. We got in there, and you're like, you got in there, and like, you got any, what was it, pink noise? We put a pink noise
Yeah.
track, and I was having a couple phase issues and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and no microphone. You just got in there with your ears, and you were like, I was watching you, and I was like, wait a minute, what's this guy doing?
Yeah.
And
So I
whatever
got
you
in your
did, you
car.
fixed it, man.
I got in your car and it was odd. Your tonality was really great on left and right side instruments and vocals, but there was something going on in the middle. And I said, "Hey, you got your laptop?" Immediately, I knew it was a mid bass problem. Sure enough, mid basses were well over a millisecond out of phase. It could have just been a typo when you entered in values, but picked it up instantly. That's a skill that I'm very proud to have.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's not it's not easy. It takes a long time to figure out, and it sounds funny saying that because I'm only 20, but
Yeah, but
it
you know
really
what?
is. It is
You
a
started early, so that's kind of a good thing. Most people don't start their car audio career till after their college years or whatever, and you started kind of early. You were jamming in the basement. You know, your mom gave you like a little, instead of a rattle, your mom gave you like a little spool of wire or a speaker to play with. Here you go,
yeah,
Brayden. Stop crying.
my
Here's
other
here's a
obsession was
speaker.
extension cords. Yeah. Yeah, tuning is an art. Tuning is my favorite part of this
Yeah.
hobby.
And
It's an art.
that's the
There is a
last puzzle
lot
piece.
to it.
That's one of the last puzzle pieces. That's actually one of the
Yeah.
most important puzzle pieces when you're wrapping up a system.
Yeah,
Ironically
absolutely.
enough.
And it is not only that, there's a lot more to tuning than pretty lines. I can tell you anybody can use Rue and a basic UMIC to give you a really pretty line on an RTA graph.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but RTA lines, a good chunk of the time, don't mean shit. There is so much more to acoustics than everything on the computer.
Yep.
There is one, the mic lies. Array setups are much better at getting to a great result just off of the mic. That's just how they work. But at the same time, an array setup it's a lot easier to get phase looking perfect on a graph, but at the same time, might not be perfect in real life. It's not a game of using Rue to set your EQ and just it's not easy.
And for people out there that are wondering, what are you going to be tuning? I imagine you're proficient with Helix, and you tackled the mini DSP. That was impressive in my own car.
Helix, Mini, Arc, Moscone, pretty much all of them. Ground Zero, if you happen to have a Ground Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Dayton software, I'm good in.
How about Goldhorn? Goldhorn's got a DSP out too.
I have not used Goldhorn.
Yeah.
I mean, even a Dayton. I say I'm good in that software, but there's nothing to that software. It's nothing but EQ and TA. But I've tuned a lot of things. My favorites are the Helix and the Arc software. But I can do almost anything, and I can figure it out pretty fast. I just tuned my first Arc setup last weekend, and by the end of that tune, I mastered the software. It's whatever you got, I can do it.
Yeah, I've heard from a lot of people that if Helix wasn't around, or if they ever went out of business, that Arc is second in line to that to that throne, because Arc makes a lot of good stuff, and I like that Arc is involved in this hobby too. You can get custom competition amps from them and stuff like that, and they're not too far away. Yeah, they've been in this business for a long time, and a lot of people that work at ARC are involved and compete and stuff like that. So that's, just like Nick, ARC is one of those people that definitely give back to the community, the SoundQ community. So yeah, if you're looking for amp speakers, I love the ARC tweeter, 3-inch mid range, 4-inch mid range, or whatever, and the mid bass, the 6.5. I think it's called like the 1.0, 3.0, and the 6.0,
Yeah.
something like that. Those are really good drivers.
I'm not a fan of that tweeter
Not a fan of the
at
tweeter?
all.
Really?
No, not at all. But I really, really like the RS 3.0, 4.0, and 6.0. Those are all really good.
Yeah, yeah. What do you got?
In my opinion.
What do you think's up with the tweeter? When I heard the tweeters, I think they sounded pretty good. I heard it in two different vehicles, and they seem to sound pretty good. They sounded nice and smooth. They're soft domes, right?
Yeah, I've heard them in 3. They are lacking a lot of detail, and I would almost use the word grainy.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little skeptical when I heard the first one, but then I heard it in 2 more vehicles, and it kind of backed it up. That's just my opinion. My opinion means nothing. Don't base a purchase off of my opinion. I do really, really like the low frequency drivers from them.
Yep.
I tuned a car 2 months ago with the RS 4.0 mid ranges, and I loved them. So I also love their amplifiers. Big fan.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Their amplifiers are workhorses. Those things are beautiful. And the the copper ones that you mentioned earlier, those are beautiful amps too. If I was to redo my car, I would go ARC amplifier because they're just gorgeous. And they've been in the game for a long time.
The ARC series are brute power monsters. The X2s put a lot of power for their size and sound good. The Falcon and Blackbird are, great all-in-ones. Then you got the Coppers. They're great. So, Helix and ARC are my go-tos. My personal favorite is Helix. I am a big, big Helix fan. They are Helix and Brax, obviously.
Yeah. I love the Helix GUI. Phenomenal. It's really nice. The stuff that you can do with Helix is amazing.
Yeah, they have a lot of features too that can help out people that are new to tuning.
Yeah.
They also have a really nice built-in help feature for the people that don't know when you are tuning. It'll actually tell you a lot about the app and how to use it. So I definitely used that when I was in beginning stages of my tuning abilities. So I
downloaded the app. It was pretty intuitive. So I wasn't intimidated by it. I was like, oh wow, no wonder Helix is so popular with the sound quality community. So Brayden, where can people find you? Where can people follow you? You want to drop those links? You want to tell people where they can
so it's all going to be under Cooper's Customs. That's my business name. That's what all the social medias are going to be. I've already made several of them. That's going to be both where to access me for tuning related things. That's going to be where to follow my build blog on the Audi, as well as updates on the Camry. The Camry is going to get a few small things going into the 26 season just to kind of make it a little bit better, fix a few of the things that I think are really lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where you'll be able to find all that. So I'm very happy to offer my tuning abilities to other people. I've spent at a lot of these shows, I've spent more time in other people's cars than in my own, just helping them with tuning stuff. It's kind of my favorite thing to do is when I get in a vehicle, I ask somebody, do you want me to listen to enjoy or do you want me to listen to critique?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because some people are like, I don't want any. I've gotten into a couple people's cars and they're like, I don't need any feedback. I usually don't give feedback unless I'm asked anyway. But, some people give feedback without asking. And, I've had a couple people do that and I'm like, hey, bud, I didn't ask you for feedback. But it is what it is.
I love feedback personally.
I love it if I ask for it. But sometimes I'm just like giving people demos and I didn't ask them for any. And some people just give it unsolicited, It's all in good faith, I'm not knocking them. I just kind of like don't really take their advice unless I'm like really looking for like with you guys this past summer when you did the little thing in my car. And then I got some feedback from Nick and I got some feedback from Miguel. Ooh, that stuff was gold to me. So I went back to the drawing board. I came home and tweaked my DSP and my EQ to what they were, the feedback they gave me, and the car sounds way better now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I normally ask before giving feedback, but like in a car like yours where I could tell that there was something very small off
yeah.
in an overall correctly set up tune, it was like that was something that I'll impromptu bring up because I was like, hey, I think that we can fix this quick. But
Yeah,
I'm
because
always
I ran Dirac, and so the thing with Dirac, right? It's not 100% foolproof. You kind of got to get in there, massage it a little bit. That's what Ryan calls it, massaging. So you got to go in there and tweak a little things. And I knew something was off. I think that's one of the things I told you. I'm like, something's off. Something's not quite right in here, man. Can you give it a listen? And man, you worked your magic. Nick gave me some advice. He said, don't touch that front subwoofer. He's like, it sounds good. He said, turn up the sub bass a little bit. And Miguel told me to turn down 8,000 and 16,000. And I did a little tweaking in that area. And I raised up the subwoofer level a little bit and gave, punched up the sub bass a little. And it just those small changes that you guys helped with made a huge difference. I was so close, and I was like, and I wasn't satisfied with my system. You know what I mean? I mean, we never are 100%. That's the crazy thing about this hobby. But for now, I'm happy. I'm good to go. I'm hoping to do Infinite Baffle next season. If money isn't a problem, I'm gonna upgrade to acoustic elegance. Who knows? I might even try a Gus 12 because Nick's got me intrigued with that subwoofer. So it'd be interesting to see what a Gus 12 could do in there. So, no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
If you need to get it tuned, give me a call.
Sweet. Oh yeah. You'd definitely be on my short list. That's for sure. So Brayden, I think we're going to wrap it up. I think we got a lot of content. What do you think?
Oh man, I could talk for hours.
Yeah. Oh, I could too. But our listeners out there, I got to give them little bites at a time. You know what I mean? That way I have them coming back.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, just recapping real quick. I am not only offering this service in the New England area, I'm actually offering it all over. So when Miguel announced that he was stepping down and putting Waveform to the side, which for anyone that doesn't know, Miguel is one of the best in the business. He is a phenomenal tuner, but he's one of the only guys that travels. And I was like, oh, maybe this is my chance to get out there. So of course, the cheapest method is to do it right here at my home shop, but I travel, I can drive by car, I can fly by plane, I can make it work. So I think my pricing is very fair for the quality of service given. And I would love to keep pursuing this and help in many, many other people's vehicles. So it's fun to me.
That's awesome, man. Because a good tuner is hard to find. I will say that. Good tuners are hard to find, man. Yeah, you're welcome, buddy. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Say goodbye to Brayden Cooper.